But now we go to another team in the stacked NFC West, San Francisco 49ers. They made it to the conference championship. Fortunately, as we all know, fell short to the LA Rams. Lost a few guys, obviously D Ford, who honestly at this point, no shock. He wasn't really playing much. A good defensive tackle in DJ Jones. Josh Norman, who I honestly forgot was in the league. No offense to Josh, I thought he was already gone. Quan Williams, safety Jaquiski Tart, and running back Raheem Mostert. Seems to be a big year for Kyle Shanahan regime and for Trey Lance, obviously, because since they are basically made it public that they are moving on to Trey Lance from Jimmy G. So what are your thoughts and expectations for the San Francisco 49ers this year, John?
I don't know what my thoughts and expectations are because I just don't know. I don't know anything about Trey Lance. All the stuff I've heard from training camp, from people within the 49ers, is they're so impressed by him. George Kittle compared him to Josh Allen. Like I've heard some crazy stuff coming out of the 49ers side, but then from other, media sources, I've heard that Trey Lance is having a rough camp and that's why they're
He's 4 for 12 today in practice.
Yeah, but
threw ducks everywhere.
and so I just don't know. I really don't know because I'm not also one of those people who's going to freak out over some training camp video of one throw that he misses the target because that happens for every quarterback. But yeah, I just don't know what the ceiling is going to be for the 49ers. If Trey Lance is better than Jimmy Garoppolo, we saw what they were able to do last year with Jimmy G. They got to the conference championship and they almost made it to the Super Bowl. So I would say if Trey Lance can come out and he is what Kyle Shanahan believes he will be, and the 49ers front office believes he will be, then they could obviously make it to the Super Bowl because I don't think that any of their departures are that big that I'm worried they can't replace the production. Like Raheem Mostert, for example. The guy's always been injured, and they always have a staple of running backs. And Elijah Mitchell was great for them last year, so he's going to come back healthy this year and potentially have a really good run. Maybe losing Quan Williams sort of hurts him because he had been there for quite a while. But the 49ers are just really good at finding these unknown corners and making them relevant within their defense. And then D Ford, DJ Jones, those guys, they were solid veterans that have been there for a while, but I feel like if anything the Niners are good at is strengthening the defensive line. And with Samson Ebukam being on the edge across from Nick Bosa, I think that they can obviously wreak havoc because Nick Bosa is a monster. And you still got Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, up the middle. Fred Warner, he can cover up for a lot of mistakes for other people. Jimmy Ward, he's been one of the top safeties for a very long time in the NFL. And so I think that they're really solid in all the key important positions, and I don't think any of their departures hurt them that much. And so I think that they could be a really good team this year. I think they could even potentially challenge the Rams for this division if Trey Lance is good. It literally all hinges on Trey Lance because I feel so confident when I'm going to get it from everything else. Even Shanahan, the run game, I think if Trey Lance is bad, he can cover up for a lot of those mistakes with his play calling, but it just depends on Trey Lance. I will say I am really interested to see what they do with Deebo Samuel. They signed him with a big extension. There was the talks that he didn't want to be a running back anymore because he felt like it was going to limit his longevity in his career. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. I'm fully expecting Brandon Aiyuk to have a really big year this year. Everything I've heard out of camp from him so far is he's having an amazing camp. I think that he has a little bit of an unfair advantage compared to Deebo in terms of building chemistry with Trey Lance because you got to think last year Trey Lance was probably the practice team QB that the defense would go up against because obviously Jimmy G's the starter, so you're going to use Trey Lance in a lot of different situations. And normally your number one receiver is not going to be playing on the practice squad side, so Deebo's not out there. But a guy like Brandon Aiyuk, who started the year in the doghouse for the first month and a half of the season, he was definitely out there probably building chemistry with Trey Lance. And then even to, throughout this offseason, as Deebo Samuel is going through his contract negotiations, Brandon Aiyuk is out there working with Trey Lance. And so I think that he could potentially have a really big season just because we saw what happened his rookie year, amazing season. And then last year, stuff happens earlier in the year. We don't know what was going on in the locker room, but he wasn't in the good graces of Kyle Shanahan. And now I'm seeing quotes of him making cracking jokes that now there's some other rookie receiver in the locker room now, and he's happy because Kyle Shanahan can now go, bully that guy. And so I think it's just something that maybe Shanahan's going to do is the young guys, there's not going to be an easy road. So you got to earn your spot. I think Aiyuk has done that. He showed up really big in their playoff run, had a really good game specifically against, unfortunately, my Dallas Cowboys. So overall, I think that he could be a pretty big difference maker. But on the year, I don't know what to expect from the Niners. Their ceiling is Super Bowl if Trey Lance is as good as some people are advertising, but their floor could be missing the playoffs if he's pretty miserable.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the additions, which may help if you want to add any other points. Cornerback Tre'Davious Ward from the Chiefs.
Which that's actually a really big one. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's probably who they're going to insert on the other their starting corners. Another edge guy in Kerry Hyder, who's kind of hopped around but always been a solid edge guy. They did invest a second-round pick into Drake Jackson, another edge guy out of USC. He was like a fringe first-round kind of guy. And then they also, of course, as Kyle Shanahan always does, grabbed a running back, Tyrion Davis-Price out of LSU. But who knows, because I heard Trey Sermon's been having a good camp too. So this might finally be the year of Trey Sermon. But knowing Kyle Shanahan, it's going to be one guy, a different guy every week. So yeah, in regards, I'm right with you. I think definitely a talented team, like we've already gone over. Great coaching staff. At the very worst, I think fringe playoffs for them if Trey Lance absolutely stinks to bed or is as inconsistent as as some people are fearing. But I think regardless, I think this is going to be a Super Bowl contender. Even if Trey Lance is okay, he's going to make mistakes. I think we kind of saw that last year. He's still raw, but he's just more dynamic than Jimmy G. I think we can all agree on that. He is the dual threat guy. I think he's going to be able to push the ball better than Jimmy G downfield. Will he be able to hit as many throws downfield as Jimmy G might? Maybe not, but I think it's still more of a scary thing to guard a guy like that on top of the Kyle Shanahan run scheme. And then, like you mentioned, if Brandon Aiyuk is better, now all of a sudden you're focusing all on Debo and George Kittle, but then Ayuk's going to be seeing a lot of single coverage probably. So, yeah, I have high expectations for this team. As a Packer fan, this team's like the bane of my existence, but I have to give respect. One of the better rosters in the NFL and with their coaching staff, and this has happened in years where they've been ravaged by injury, and I'm going to knock on wood for Niners fans, unless they're absolutely killed by injuries like they have been a few times the past few years. I expect them to be in the playoff mix and in that Super Bowl mix as well. Yeah, those are my quick thoughts on the 49ers. They ended last year 10-7. Forgot to mention that. But I think regardless, they're going to be a tough out every week, even if Trey Lance, doesn't take fully that next step that we believe he can. Because we even saw in games he was in last year, there were a lot of close games, and he made a lot of mistakes. And, apparently he's kind of cleaned up his throwing, because last year wasn't really great with touch passes and intermediate. He was kind of doing the Josh Allen thing that Josh Allen did when he came into the league, which was trying to rifle bullet every pass, in which you can't do that. Sometimes you got to, throw with touch and anticipation. So hopefully another offseason, and having the offseason as basically the guy helps him take that step forward, just be a little more consistent thrower.